Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Maths Tutorials. We're going to talk about compound inequalities. Sometimes you'll see these as we call the and or the or problems, and I go more into what happens with the ands and the ors a little bit later, especially with the absolute values. But for right now, we're just going to take these compound inequalities and we're going to put them together. What that means is there's actually more than one inequality that we're going to put on the number line. Compound, meaning there's going to be more than one. So now, let's take a look at this first example, the number one. So if you take a look at it, you have an x in the middle, and I have this plus 3. Well, let's just, if you were to just kind of cover that 2 in the less than sign, which is x plus 3 is less than 10, what would you do? You would subtract 3 from both sides, wouldn't you? Well, guess what? I have 3 sides, so what do? The answer is you subtract it from all 3. Okay, so 2, add a line, change the sign, negative 1 is less than x, which is less than 7. When you have the X and there's less than signs on the left and the right, that right there is signaling to you that you're going to be shading in between them. So what you're going to get is you're going to get a negative 1 right here. We'll just, kind of guess where they are right there in a 7. I see that there's no equal sign, so I want to write holes on each of these, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to shade the in between. And if you think about it, the way you would read it, the x's are greater than negative 1, which they are. They're greater than negative 1, but they're also less than 7, which they are. If I were to go beyond that, then they'd be greater than 7. It wouldn't work. So this is the only place where it'll satisfy both of the equations. I think I'll use a thicker, yeah, that'll work a little bit better right there. Okay. Um, let's go on to the next one. Now, when you get the and that would be an or, meaning that, well, actually, no, that would be an and, wouldn't it? Because it's going to satisfy both of them. So this one right here, I apologize that this probably would have been better. Maybe I'll have to fix these worksheets, but I would rather these say ors right here. Okay, that's actually a little more accurate. I didn't notice that when these worksheets were made up. Ooh, look, they did the or right there. I wonder why they didn't do it earlier. Okay, sorry about that. Anyways, not the biggest deal. Okay, I'm going to use the not so thick one when I solve the problem. So here you're given two equations that you want to put on a line. Not a huge deal. All you're going to do is solve them separately. So we're going to solve two different equations here. 3x is greater than equal to 15. When you divide each side by 3, sorry, I'll move up here a little bit. This is going to be x is greater than equal to 5, and I'll circle it. Then when you do the other one, you're going to add 6 to both sides. 3x is less than or equal to, I'm going to add a 6. I don't know. Oh, I just did that really sloppy. Sorry about that. Have better penmanship than me. That's your first secret in math. And that's going to become 27. Divide each side by 3, and I'm going to get x is less than or equal to 9. Usually when you do these problems, the way they're going to come out is they're going to be kind of on both the extremes. So on this one, I'll start with the x is greater than equal to 5. I'm just going to write a 5 right about here. And because it's greater than or equal, oh, this is where I wanted the thicker one. I'm going to draw a dot. I'm going to draw a dot, and it's going to be greater than. Okay. Then on the other one, x is going to be less than or equal to 9. Oh, wow. Look at this one. Okay. This is going to get a little confusing because right there would be my 9, and it's got to go that way, right? Well, so now this is a little bit weird. What do we do? Maybe I shouldn't have gone to the super thick one. So I want things that are less than or equal to 9, and that's got to be a dot, and a greater than or equal to 5. Well, I'll tell you what, you know where that is? That's right there in between, isn't it? So that's going to be my answer, okay? So I guess in that situation, that's why we did have the and, because when they're in between, that's what will happen, okay? Sorry, maybe I didn't explain that one as well as I'd like, but we have some other ones to take a shot at, okay? And hopefully I'll do a better job. But that was correct, though, if you followed along, okay? Now here, I'm going to divide by 2, but guess what? We're going to divide everybody by 2, okay? Remember, you have 3 sides here. So now you're going to have an x, less than sign, that becomes a 2, and that's going to become a 9. Just make sure you do it to all 3 sides. So right here, I'm going to have a 2, and I'm going to have a 9, and they're going to be circles. and it's going to be greater than 2 but less than 9, which is the stuff in between, and that would be your answer. Okay, let's keep going on to the next one. So on this right here, I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides, and I'm going to get x is less than or equal to 8. Okay, now I'm going to do the next one. I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides, and I'm going to get x is greater than or equal to -4. Out of line, change the sign if that helps. Okay, so on this one, I'm going to go over here to a -4, and then that's going to be a dot. Okay, that's going to be a dot at -4. And then on the other one, that's going to be an 8. So I'm going to write an 8 here. I'm going to do a dot, and it's going to think I'm erasing. So I'm going to do my dot and then my line. I'm learning now as I'm doing these. Okay, so it's between -4 and 8, and it's got to be less than 8, which is that way, and it's got to be greater than -4, which is that way. Therefore, I know now that my answer is going to be in between. Okay, let's go on to the next one. -4. Now remember, when they show the x in the middle, you have to treat it like it's 3 different sides. So I'm going to add 4 to all 3 of the signs. And I'm going to get 5 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 13. So now I have 5 and a 13. So I'm going to put my 5 right here, okay? And I'm going to put my 13 right here. Maybe I shouldn't have drawn the lines because my circles are going to erase them, aren't they? Well, there's my hole, because remember, there's no equal sign on the 13. There is an equal sign, though, on the 5, okay? So that has to be an actual solid dot. And then the x is in between, and when you get in between, that's what it looks like. So you have a hole at 13 and a dot on 5, and the answer is in between. Okay, let's work on this next one right here. Okay, so I'm going to multiply each of these by each side by 2. Cancel out, x is greater than 6. Done. On the next one, I'm going to multiply each side by 2. And I'm going to get x is less than 18. Okay, well, these are both going to be wholes, aren't they? Well, 6 and 18, it doesn't matter really the scale of this. So I'm going to write my 6 there, and I'm going to write my 18 there. And I know that these are both going to be wholes. They have to be because there's no equal sign. Now, if they're greater than 6, that's that way. And if they're less than 18, it's that way. So this is one of those in-between problems. Okay? Let's go on to number 7. I'll make my thing a little less thick now. Okay? I'm going to divide all 3 of these by 4. And that's going to get me 3 less than x less than or equal to 7. Okay, so now I want a 3 and I want a 7. My 3 has to be a whole because there's no equal sign, correct? And then my 7 is going to have to be a dot, which is going to erase. So I'll do my dot and then my line. And I want my x to be that's the in between when you have both of them as less than signs. So all we do is show you the in between. Okay, let's keep going. I got 3 more here to show you. And we are going to go to a thinner line. And I'm going to go, now here we have a compound one. We have a 2-step problem. So watch what I do. I'm going to subtract each problem by 1. And that's going to get rid of that 1. And I'm going to get 6 is less than or equal to 3x, which is less than 18. But guess what? I still have that 3. Well, what would you do if it wasn't in between, if it was just 1? You would go to the other side of the equation. Well, I'm just going to do it to all 3. And my answer is going to be 2 less than or equal to x, which is less than 6. And when you have the x in the middle between 2 less than signs, you know that's going to be an in-between one. Okay, so it's going to be between 2 and 6. So I'm going to draw a 2, and I'm going to draw a 6. Ooh, what was that? A 2, or a 6. Okay, and I know that at the 2, it's got to be a dot. Okay, ooh, it stayed. And then at the 6, it has to be a hole, and I know that in between means that we go in between. Okay, when the x is in between them. All right, let's go on to the next one. This next one's got a little bit more going on. So, that was an accident. Sorry about that. Let's get rid of that. Now let me zoom up because I'll need a little more room to write on this one. minus 2, minus 2, minus 2. Just think about if I were to cover up with your hand the 5 and the less than sign. So it just says x over 3 plus 2 is less than or equal to 9. You would subtract the 2 and then you'd multiply by 3. I'm just going to do the same thing to the 5 as well. So if I were to do all this, I would end up getting a 3 is less than x over 3, they die, less than or equal to 7. Now I want to multiply all three of these by 3. And I'm going to get 9 is a less than, they go away, x less than or equal to 21. Okay, so my x is going to be between 9 and 21. Okay, let me zoom back out. All right, so I'm just going to write my 9 there, and I'm going to write my 21 there. All right, so now this one's got to be a hole because there's no equal sign. But on the 21, there is a hole. So I'm going to draw the hole. Or sorry, there is a dot. Sorry. So there's the dot. There's our 21. And the x is in between. So it's in between. That's your answer. And the very last one. Okay, so now we got the or ones I've been looking for. So that should be on the extremes. I'll show you what I mean. X is greater than 10, or I'm going to add 6 to both sides. Boom. X is less than, and that's going to become a negative 2 when you finish it. So now watch what's going to happen right here. Here I have a negative 2. I'll just start on this one right here. X is less than the negative 2. Okay, so it's going to be a hole because there's no equal sign, and it's going to be less than. All right, so let's go now to the other one, which is going to be the 10. So I'll put a 10 right there. And as x is greater than 10, there's the hole. Boom. So that was the only one we had where it went to the extremes, that there's nothing in the middle. So also, if you notice, this was also the only one that had the word or in it. That's going to come up later. Okay, so just be aware of that. And that, my friends, is version A. Okay, I hope you felt really good about that. Again, these are all on maxtutorials.com, which you can see right down here. Okay, and so I'll see you there. If you understand that, that's great. If not, I got more of these. Go to version B. Let's practice a few more. Let's get you feeling really great about these. I'll see you guys there.